and he dominated and won the All-Star race as well last year.
Bell was at that test also, though. How does Penske nail this and JGR seemed to miss it?
Yeah.
Denny Hamlin didn't just bump into Ty Gibbs at New Hampshire. He may have started one of the biggest fights inside the Joe Gibbs Racing team. At first, it looked like just another crash. But if you look closer, you'll see something much bigger. A battle between teammates, playoff problems, and maybe even cracks in one of NASCAR's most famous teams. And with Hamlin staying at Joe Gibbs Racing for the rest of his career, the timing couldn't be worse. It all happened on lap 110. Hamlin was still trying to win the championship and needed every point he could get. Ty Gibbs, his teammate, was already out of the playoffs. You might think Gibbs would let Hamlin pass. But no, he raced him hard for 11th place and didn't back down. Then Hamlin tried to go underneath him, hit his back tire, and sent him into the wall. Gibbs had to go to the garage with a broken car, and he wasn't happy. He shouted, "Game on!" before leaving. That showed this wasn't just a simple crash. Something more serious is going on. This wasn't just a crash, it was symbolic. Gibbs, only 21 years old, is a rookie trying to make a name for himself. But he's also the team owner's grandson, which complicates everything. Racing hard is expected, but racing hard against a playoff contender from your own team, that's where the red flags start flying. Hamlin didn't mince words after the race. On his Actions Detrimental podcast, he blasted the lack of direction from JGR leadership, saying, "My teammate out of the playoffs should not be the hardest car on the track to pass."
You know, my teammate out of the playoffs should not be the hardest car on the track to pass.
He wasn't just angry about losing position, he was furious that a teammate wasn't playing by the unwritten rules of playoff etiquette. And worse, he hinted that Joe Gibbs Racing is lacking the leadership needed to prevent exactly this kind of chaos. Hamlin is no stranger to controversy, but he rarely calls out his own team publicly. That made this outburst even more shocking. And for fans, it raised a critical question. If Denny Hamlin, arguably the backbone of JGR, is this frustrated? What does that say about the team's internal dynamics? In NASCAR, there's a known but unspoken code. If you're out of playoff contention, don't get in the way of teammates who still have a shot. Hamlin pointed out that other teams embrace this strategy, letting playoff drivers through to protect their championship hopes. But at JGR, that line seems dangerously blurred.
Not being good teammates, but yet being the most difficult ones to pass, none of us have a shot. We might as well just hang this thing up because it's too difficult to win naturally, much less if we're going to have everyone just races for themselves and it doesn't matter, you know, whether you're racing for a championship or not.
It wasn't just about Gibbs. It was about a broken system. And he's not wrong. Championship runs are fragile. One misstep, one poorly timed wreck, and a season's worth of work can disappear. That's why most organizations preach unity during playoff season. You protect your best chance to win. But when internal competition becomes sabotage, it signals a much deeper issue within the garage. Team owner Joe Gibbs, who also happens to be Ty's grandfather, shrugged off the clash when asked by FOX Sports. "It's always the drivers that have to handle that," he said, suggesting they figure it out on their own.
It's always the drivers that have to handle that. They're the ones that got the wheel, and so I think that's always the case.
That might sound diplomatic, but to many insiders, it felt like Gibbs was dodging a leadership moment. With family ties and franchise loyalty pulling in opposite directions, Joe might be sitting on a ticking time bomb. This isn't Joe Gibbs's first time handling internal drama. He's seen personality clashes, rivalries, and heated moments, but never has he been faced with this exact combination, a frustrated superstar versus his own grandson. And make no mistake, Ty Gibbs isn't just another driver. He's expected to be the future of the organization, which means this drama could influence the team's next decade. Hamlin made one thing crystal clear. This shouldn't be left to a private chat between him and Gibbs. He said bluntly, "We're going to have different opinions."
Yeah, the challenge is I think that me and Ty are going to be on different.
That's why he's calling on the top brass to step in. "Tell us how you want it done," Hamlin demanded. "Whatever those rules are, I'll follow them. But we need rules."
will have different opinions. Therefore, you need leadership to step in and say, well, this is how we want it done. And then we will play by those rules. Whatever those rules are, I will play by those rules. But I've been told in the past, if you're not in it, you do everything you can to help your teammates that are in it.
This request wasn't about ego. It was about structure. Hamlin, Christopher Bell, and the rest of JGR's playoff drivers need to know, is there a game plan, or is it every man for himself? Because if it's the latter, the entire postseason could be a disaster. This goes way beyond a simple teammate disagreement. It's a full-blown political crisis for JGR. Ty Gibbs is not just a driver, he's family. Denny Hamlin is not just another veteran, he's the face of the franchise, recently signing a contract to stay with JGR for the rest of his career. Now Joe Gibbs is stuck between blood and business, legacy and leadership. If Gibbs sides with Hamlin, he risks undermining his grandson. If he favors Ty, he could alienate his most loyal and accomplished driver. There's no clean solution. Every decision has consequences, and the entire garage knows it. On Inside the Race, NASCAR analyst Adam Alexander made it clear this isn't an easy fix. Gibbs could face a firestorm in the garage. He warned, and the timing couldn't be worse. The team had just dominated the first playoff round, only to stumble dramatically at New Hampshire. If the internal drama isn't resolved fast, it could wreck their postseason hopes entirely. What makes this even more delicate is how public it has all become, and the more it spills out into the public eye, the harder it becomes to control. Hamlin has always been the company man, never demanding special treatment, never leveraging his resume for favors. That's what makes his public frustration so shocking. When he speaks out, people listen. His blow-up isn't about ego, it's about survival. And if Joe Gibbs doesn't act fast, the foundation of his team could start to crack. It's also worth noting how rare this kind of conflict is at the highest level. These are seasoned professionals. They know the stakes. For it to reach this boiling point tells you how deep the issues run. Tension has been rising for a long time, and the crash at New Hampshire was just the spark. This is more than just a driver clash. It's a moment that could define the future of Joe Gibbs Racing. If teammates keep going rogue, the championship is out of reach. And if the team leadership refuses to intervene, they risk losing more than just races. They risk losing the locker room. Fans are already speculating about how this will affect team dynamics long term. Will Hamlin take a back seat in future decisions? Will Ty face consequences? Or will this all be brushed under the rug until it explodes again at a worse time? Joe Gibbs has weathered plenty of storms before, but this one's personal and messy. He needs to figure out how to manage the expectations of a championship-caliber driver while navigating the growing pains of his own grandson. If he gets it wrong, it could cost him everything. The right move here isn't easy. It may involve tough conversations, public statements, and maybe even restructuring how the team operates during the playoffs. But something has to change. For now, the team remains silent. No public statements from Gibbs, no clarity on how future races will be handled. But inside the JGR shop, you can bet the tension is thick. Hamlin has drawn a line in the sand. The next move belongs to leadership. Will they take control or let the fire burn? The fallout could reshape the team's dynamics for years to come. With egos, family, and championships on the line, one thing's clear. This isn't over, not even close. And if JGR doesn't wake up soon, the next big crash might not happen on the track.